Good morning, everybody. My name is Fran O'Connor and I'm from STH Architects in Australia. And today I'm here to present to you Marinda Home. So to start with, we'll just quickly talk about the brief. The brief was to deliver 120 public aged care beds and to respond to a new model of care for the Victorian Government. The building footprint is overall 12,000 metres squared and it was completed in August last year. Marinda Home creates a new typology for residential aged care architecture and in Australia. The design seeks to improve the physical and mental well-being of residents, their carers and staff by creating a unique aged care community. The site is in a leafy Melbourne suburb of Wantirna, which is roughly 30 kilometres east of the CBD. The site. The campus occupies roughly 10 hectares and the precinct includes an existing public subacute facility on the site with an existing 96 beds. To the east of the site, there is also a major private hospital across the road. The southern portion of our site is currently leased to the Trash and Treasure Market, which provides a lot of colour and vibrancy on the weekends to the community. There is one entry to the site on the southeast axis. Marinda realises contemporary models of aged care, including dementia-friendly themes, mental health supportive design to support residents with extremely complex care needs. The design and documentation occurred during the first wave of the COVID-19 pandemic in Victoria in 2020. As such, the team became challenged to create Australia's first pandemic-capable aged care building with a complete change in brief. Pandemic responsive design is achieved via zoned electronic access doors, plus individual air handling systems to each household. The zones are separated by bedroom and communal spaces, and of course by household. Traditional aged care developments of this type in Australia are usually singular in level, low square set buildings, very residential in look and feel. The vertical model allows for a standardised layout to be replicated by level and creating a front door and an address to every household. The vertical architecture creates a home for 120 residents, typically 65 years and over. The plan explores the fabric of the neighbourhood and community, a network of living, work and recreational spaces which are connected to encourage social interaction in lounge areas, multi-purpose spaces and activity areas. A typical plan being levels 2 to 4. Uniformity across the 4 levels creates self-contained households. The typical 15-bed household between levels 1 and 4. The resident bedrooms are clustered into 7 and 8-bed households, each containing a lounge, a dining area, a therapy kitchen, and an outdoor terrace. And this is an image of our community hub, which is a very popular destination for the residents at happy hour. Artwork. The interior was guided by a design intent to create a life experience for the residents, their carers and the staff. The artwork was selected to create living experiences and to promote nostalgic and familiar themes. Artwork is aligned to coordinate with the household colour palettes, and we will come to those colour palette concepts in a moment. The porch is an Australian term to describe a covered entryway to a home. The resident's bedroom is identified by this idea of a porch and a downlight to turn the porch light on at night time, and a door knocker to the resident's front door, and built-in memory boxes outside each bedroom to promote personalisation and nostalgia. This provides residents with cues to recall memories. It also helps residents with dementia to find their rooms. The large resident bedrooms have been designed with openable windows to allow for natural light and ventilation, and a neutral colour palette which best accommodates for personalisation of the space. The bedrooms have the following features: lifting trucks, which take the resident from the bed to the chair and from the chair to the ensuite. Display shelving to allow the residents to personalise their space. Larger cabinet handles on the joinery and cabinetry to allow for locked and swallow-in hands. A reading light centred over the bed. A shelf behind the bed with an ambient light to allow for more personalisation of the space. Natural light with openable windows. The en-suites are designed to promote independence, with generous storage located above the basins, colour contrasting grab rails, custom designed hand basins which have a handle designed into the front of them to provide support for residents who are unstable on their feet. Dementia specific tapware, which is soft to touch with contrasting levers. Each household includes an open plan kitchen, dining and lounge area with a cool to touch fireplace. Transparent yet secure screening allows for panoramic views and an outlook to the trees. The colour palette references the exterior colour palette of the building, which is predominantly brick, timber, natural tones and has highlight colours with the glazed bricks. This allows for a seamless transition between exterior to interior. The colour palettes differ across the floor plates so that each household is recognisable and has its own identity. Internal highlight colours have been inspired from the colours found in native Australian bird life located in the eastern Melbourne suburbs. Each household has been allocated a colour palette. The colour themes have been inspired by native birds such as the forest kingfisher, the pink robin, the sulphur-crested cockatoo, Major Mitchell cockatoo and the splendid fairy wren. Graphics throughout the home are used to highlight communal spaces such as this community room, and there's also a very beautiful beauty salon where you can get your nails done, your hair done, your eyebrows tinted and so on. The graphics applied to walls and glazing provide familiar and recognisable imagery, such as this distant city skyline, which mirrors the Melbourne CBD skyline. In this instance, the graphic has been used to highlight the entry into a household. The home has been proudly named by the elders from the Wurundjeri people, adopting traditional Woi Wurrung language meaning life or living. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a very nice project, and having spent many hours with my mother in a facility such as this, I think we'd all like to spend time here in the future. Yeah, I really like the planning of the projects, having those households
Yes.
with eight or nine rooms, and then those very nice areas that open up for the dining and lounge area. I thought that worked really well, and we really loved the memory boxes
Yes.
too. I did want to talk a little bit about the colour, because I felt that it was a little bit white.
Yep.
And clinical, and I wondered, was there a reason for that? And I just felt it could have been a little bit more homely, and how you
Yeah.
worked with that interior.
So I suppose the colour palette throughout was designed to be neutral, particularly in the bedrooms, so that residents can personalise their own space. And without forcing a colour on them, they can come into those rooms and bring in their own soft furnishings and colour and their own artwork. We
Right.
didn't put any artwork into the bedrooms. That was up to the resident. So particularly in the bedrooms, there was a purposeful decision there to make it neutral, to allow the personalisation of the space to occur. And then with the colour schemes vertically throughout the households, there actually was quite a vivid colour palette.
Right.
Yeah, which maybe the photos didn't illustrate that terribly well, but it was particularly in the soft furnishings and in the artwork.
Right. In our work, you'll see we love forcing a good colour on somebody. That we
Yep.
think it's actually okay, and people do actually respond to. But they might not like it. Over time, they grow to like it. And I'll tell you a little story afterwards. But thank you very
Okay,
much.
no worries.
Thank you. I agree. What a lovely initiative. I think the nail salon got me, so yeah, I'll definitely be signing myself up. Look, a really lovely scheme. I guess this is probably a good image to stop on. I was maybe surprised, or maybe a bit more curious about why sort of landscaping maybe didn't feature a bit more heavily than I thought that it might have, to kind of just bring in a little bit of that lushness and, around the biophilia aspects and so on. Is that something intentional? Maybe talk through a bit about sort of the spaces between the buildings as well.
I suppose the building was designed with the L-shaped households, the way they were positioned. They were purposely positioned to capture the views. So the building is actually perfectly located to capture views out to the Dandenong Ranges, which is a beautiful mountainous outlook, and then out to the Yarra Valley, which is the wine region in Melbourne. Internally, no, there are no plants. What a lot of operators find is that, this sounds terrible, but a lot of residents urinate in them, or they tip their coffee and tea into the plants, and they usually end up dying because they're not treated terribly well. So there was a deliberate decision to not include it because we were asked not to. Yeah.
My question builds on what Mark was saying about the coolness. And
Yep.
I understand the background issue. I mean, we've seen a bit cool with the white blocks here. But I guess I'm imagining if I was one of the residents that,
Yep.
maybe incontinent, as you describe in the future. But how much did you put yourself in the mind of the resident and the trauma of leaving their homes and moving to this place? Could you actually envisage? And the reason it seems there are certain rules, and I love the memory box, and I guess with the staff, they could help the resident decide on so they would
Yep.
be encouraged to curate. But what if one of the residents had a Queen Anne desk and wanted to put that in their room? It seems there are quite sort of rigid rules about what goes in and out. What about some beautiful curtains? Or it seems that I get the feeling there perhaps could have been more open and flexible opportunities for the residents to sort of shape their environment. I know you've tried hard at that,
Yeah.
but I'm wondering if there's a point where the the rule book is thrown at the residents, say, yes, you can have colour, you can have your artworks, you can have anything that's flat and easily stored and easily put on the walls, but if it's a Queen Anne desk, you can't have it.
So the question,
Where are the rules? Are the rules worked out individually with a resident,
Oh,
or
I
are
see.
they,
Sorry.
or are they simply told that they cannot have any furniture?
no, not at all. I mean, they are encouraged to bring in their own chairs, their own desks, their own shelving, their own bits and pieces for furniture, and those rooms are actually oversized to accommodate resident furniture.
Well, are there any actual examples of that happening?
I suppose when we took those photos, it was just completed, and yeah, so I'm not 100% sure.
It's an interesting aspect.
Yeah.
This, the lived in. I would like to see more of
More
the
lived in, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Thank you. It's a nice, nicely designed project. For where I come from, we don't know these type of buildings, so I'm kind of struggling
It's
with
different.
what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
To me, it feels like a hospital,
Yeah.
but maybe it is kind of a hospital concept. But I was wondering, you were telling about the color concept, different colors in every floor. But I understand, from what I understand, the residents don't move. So they are always in their own household.
They are, yeah.
Can you explain more about why the difference?
Why differentiate between the levels?
Yes.
Oh, well, it was really just to provide, I talked about providing a sense of identity to each household. And so the idea was to give a colour palette that tied in with the soft furnishings and the artwork, so that there was, I guess, to avoid that sense of creating a clinical space and trying to give it a bit of personality and a bit of life. The artwork has been a terribly successful undertaking. The operators have said that the residents are really engaging with the artwork, which is fabulous, because these are people who have dementia, so they see things completely differently. That's why we have to have contrast, and if you have contrast, it encourages them to use their space. If they can't see, they don't use their space. So a lot of initiatives have been taken to encourage them to use their space and engage with the space. I don't know if I've answered your question. Yeah. So, but no, they don't move around. They tend to stay in the household. Yeah.
I think time is up, so I'll ask you a very short question that hopefully you can answer really quickly. I think the question, of specification, I'm interested because I think some of us are just, it feels a bit like a hospital, and I'm just slightly unsure whether that is more your choice or whether you had a client who gave you a brief in terms of materials. So, for example, the kind of the cleanness of the floor, the kind of height of the skirting board, are those elements that you have decided as interior designer, or is that basically your client saying that's the spec you're working to?
Good question. I guess we decide. Obviously, as the designers on the project, we select all the materials, but there are aspects that with state projects whereby they are terribly scared of using products that they don't know how to clean, and so a lot of the materials that we use in public facilities, I suppose, have to be bleach cleanable. They also have to be completely fire retardant, so that if there's a fire, it's not going to burn. So all the carpets have to be flame retardant. It's a different typology in that sense.
I think we're clear. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.